The Coast Guard helicopter flew low over empty sea. No wreckage, no life raft, but the distress call had been crystal clear, from a ship that sank before the rescue swimmer was born.
George, you need to see this. The Pacific Lady sank 40 years ago.
That's impossible. I heard the transmission myself.
The recording backs you up. But the database doesn't lie. She's been on the bottom for decades.
Webb pulled up the audio log. The voice of a dead captain filled the room.
The CO is going to want to hear this. I've never seen anything like it.
How do you launch a rescue for men who have been dead longer than you've been alive?
Commander Hale wants you in his office. Now.
George walked down the station hallway, the recording echoing in his head. Behind the CO's door, the truth about the Pacific Lady was waiting. At 0300 hours, VHF Channel 16 erupted with static. A panicked voice cut through the storm. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. This is the fishing vessel, Pacific Lady, WBF 7748. Captain Marcus Cole aboard. We are taking on water rapidly. Our position is 7 miles offshore. Repeat, 7 miles offshore. 6 souls aboard. Request immediate assistance. God help us.
All right, we've got coordinates. George, get suited up. Swanson, spool up the bird.
First real call in months. Hope we make it in time.
The MH-65 Dolphin lifted off the pad, its rotors chewing the rain as it climbed into the storm.
Climbing to 1,000 feet. ETA to grid is 6 minutes. Weather is absolute garbage.
The VHF remained silent. No response to their hails.
I am at the door. I can't see a thing. No lights, no flares.
They arrived at the coordinates, but the sea below was a churning black void. No vessel in sight.
Nothing on radar. Where the hell is that boat? I've got visual on empty water. No debris, no oil slick, nothing. It's like the ocean swallowed them whole.
The helicopter carved a tight grid over the coordinates, searchlight raking the waves. No flares answered.
Pacific Lady, Coast Guard helicopter on scene. Respond on Channel 16. Over.
Only static answered. Swanson repeated the hail 3 times. The VHF remained dead.
6 souls aboard. They can't just vanish. Something isn't right. Expanding search to adjacent grids. Maybe they drifted. I am not giving up yet.
For 4 hours they circled, burning fuel over a desolate sea. No wreckage, no raft, no sign the Pacific Lady had ever existed.
We're bingo fuel. We have to return to base. I am sorry, George. We heard them. How can there be nothing?
The MH-65 banked hard and headed back toward the station, its crew silent. The mystery of a ghost ship growing heavier with each mile. The helicopter skids settled onto the rain-slick pad. Inside the cabin, no one spoke.
I ran the vessel name and registry the moment you got back. Pacific Lady, WBF 7748. That's what was on the call. But the maritime database says she sank 40 years ago, lost with all hands.
That's impossible. Maybe a spoofed signal? Someone using an old boat's name?
The captain's name was Marcus Cole. He went down with his crew. You heard him, George. That was a real voice.
Play it back. The entire transmission. I need to hear it again.
The recording crackled through the speaker. Captain Cole's desperate plea for salvation from a vessel that had been rusting on the seafloor for decades.
It's the same cadence, the same fear. This isn't a recording playing tricks that man is begging right now.
Hale needs to hear this. You need to take it straight to him.
George copied the file onto a data stick. His hands were steady, but his mind reeled with a single truth. The impossible had just spoken. Commander Hale sat rigidly behind his desk as the recording crackled to life. His expression never changed.
That's enough. Seal the recording in an envelope. You'll find them in the top drawer.
He didn't even flinch. How many times has he listened to dead men plead? Sir, you knew this was going to happen. How many times has this call come through?
Since 1973, every few years. The cabinet in the corner holds the record of every one.
Hale opened the drawer. Rows of sealed envelopes stretched back, each labeled with a date.
They've been running rescues for ghosts for decades. And now I'm part of it.
You log it. You seal it, and you don't talk about it. Not to the crew, not to anyone. Understood.
George took the envelope, his name already typed on the label. The weight of it felt heavier than the helicopter.
That night, George lay rigid in his bunk, staring at the ceiling. Sleep was impossible.
By early morning, George was at the operations computer, digging through maritime archives. The article headline read, "Fishing Vessel Pacific Lady Lost with All Hands, 1971. A grainy ship photograph accompanied it.
Same boat, same captain. He's been dead for decades, but I heard him beg for help.
George tracked down a retired station chief who had served in the 80s. The old man's voice crackled over the phone.
Sir, I need to know about the distress calls from the Pacific Lady. How many?
The retired chief's voice was resigned. Every 2 or 3 years, same storm, same dead voice. Never a ship.
And the crew that took those calls. What happened to them?
The chief paused, then said, "They never lasted long. Some transferred, some couldn't sleep. Once you hear it, you are part of it."
My last tour started 3 years ago. The next call will come on my final shift.
3 winters passed. George never spoke of the cabinet, but every storm that rolled in drew him to the radio room.
You are in here every time the wind picks up. You waiting for something, George.
Just can't sleep when the sea gets loud. Old habit.
He read through decades of station logs, each archived page another date, another phantom voice.
You've been decked out for a launch. Every time the barometer drops, you know something we don't.
Tanner, you are looking for answers you won't find in those logs.
By the 3rd year, the waiting had carved lines into his face. He had stopped hoping to forget. When the autumn gales arrived, he felt it, the pressure drop, the same pattern from every recorded call.
It's coming tonight. I know it.
The night of his final shift, a storm tore in off the Pacific, a mirror of 1971. The radio crackled in anticipation. George walked to Hale's office, the storm outside rattling the windows.
Commander, I need to know everything. The voice, the pattern, why it never stops.
Close the door. The voice is always Marcus Cole. Every call ends with "God help us." 22 times now.
Hale unlocked the cabinet, the drawer sliding out with a familiar metallic groan.
No one who answers that call leaves unchanged. Some transfer, some drink, some just stop talking.
22 times. And I am the one on watch tonight. My name is next on the list. Why does the Coast Guard keep launching searches? You know, there's nothing out there.
Protocol. And maybe one day we'll find them. Or maybe we're the only ones still listening.
George looked at the cabinet, at the envelope, waiting with tonight's date. His would be the next name. He straightened his uniform and walked toward the radio room. The storm's peak only hours away. In his final week, George trained the new rescue swimmer, a young man who would soon take his place.
He doesn't know what he's walking into. None of them ever do.
On the last night, the storm hit with gale force winds. The barometer plunged to levels matching the 1971 logs.
Tanner, you look like you've seen a ghost. Get some coffee before standby.
Channel 16 has been dead all week. Makes my skin crawl.
George pulled on his dry suit. The orange fabric felt like a shroud. At 0300, he sat alone in the radio room, headset in hand, waiting. The VHF static was a low hiss, but no voice yet. The digital clock on the console flicked to 3:17. A burst of static erupted from channel 16.
This is it. The voice I've been waiting 3 years to hear.
He pressed the headset to his ear and keyed the transmit button. The voice in the headset was the same. Same cadence, same fear. Captain Cole, speaking from the abyss. The transmission ended as it always did. "We are foundering. 6 souls aboard. God help us."
He's still down there. Still begging. After all these years.
George, you copy? We've got the coordinates. Same as before. What do you want to do?
Log it. And get the bird ready. We're launching.
He wrote the details in the logbook with a steady hand, his name on the line. The envelope would wait. 10 minutes later, George was strapped into the helicopter. the rotor wash tearing at the night.
You sure about this? There's never anything out there. Protocol. Maybe this time we'll find them.
The MH-65 lifted off into the gale, heading toward the coordinates where no ship had ever been found. They reached the coordinates at 3:42. For 30 minutes they circled, the searchlight's beam swallowed by the storm.
I've checked every grid. No heat signature. No radar ping. This is a ghost hunt. Every search ends the same. Why did I think this time would be different?
The helicopter banked and headed back, its crew silent as the storm began to ease. The station appeared through the rain, the lights of the pad a familiar anchor in the dark. George sat at the operations desk, the logbook open. He wrote the date, time, and a single word: negative. His hand was steady, but the weight of it pressed down. Commander Hale took the envelope from his hand, signed it, and opened the cabinet. He slid it into the drawer beside 22 others, each labeled with a name and date. The drawer shut with a soft click, sealing George's report into the station's permanent log.
My name is in there now. I am part of the pattern, part of the ghost story.
George left the station for the last time on a gray morning. The only sound was the sea. He rented a small apartment inland, as far from the coast as he could manage. On the first stormy night, he woke in a cold sweat. The voice had come in his sleep.
That was no dream. It was him. Captain Cole, clear as the night I first heard him.
Doctors called it survivor's guilt and PTSD. They gave him pills that fogged his mind. But every storm, the voice returned. We are foundering, 6 souls aboard. God help us.
It's not in my head, it's him. He's still out there, calling.
The station called once, offering him a contractor position. He hung up before they could explain. He kept the windows shut, the television on, but the voice found its way in.
I'll never escape it. The Pacific Lady is part of me now.
2 years after leaving the station, George dialed Webb's number. The phone rang 3 times.
Webb, it's Tanner. Do you still get the calls?
Yeah, a new kid heard it 2 months back. Same voice. He's not sleeping now.
Webb's words confirmed the unbroken cycle. George hung up without another word. The next morning, he drove to the State Maritime Museum, searching for the face behind the voice. In a dusty corner, he found a display on the Pacific Lady. A faded crew photograph hung above a plaque.
That's him. Captain Cole. Younger, hopeful, the same man who begs in my sleep.
The face was exactly as he had imagined from the voice, weathered by decades of salt and regret. He stood before the photograph until the museum closed. No answers, only a face that would never leave him.
There's no breaking the cycle. The captain calls. We answer. It's all there is.
The storm hammered the windows of the small house where George had retreated, far from the station.
Even here, the storm feels like it's calling me.
He turned on his shortwave radio and tuned to channel 16. The static broke into a voice, his own voice, shaky but clear, reciting the Mayday call. He heard himself say the words he had only ever listened to. Pacific Lady, 6 souls aboard. God help us.
I am inside the transmission now. The cycle has swallowed me whole.
He killed the radio and sat in the darkness, his hands trembling. At dawn, he opened the door and found a sealed manila envelope on the welcome mat, still damp from the storm. No stamp, no return address. Only his name typed across the front in the same institutional font as the station's logs.
It's a recording, but I can't open it. I am not ready to hear which voice is on it.
George slid the envelope into a drawer and locked it. He never opened it.
Whatever's in there, it belongs to the sea. I am done asking questions.
He became a recluse. The windows stayed shut. The lights stayed off. Only his voice broke the silence. Neighbors reported strange occurrences. On stormy nights, a man mumbling on his porch, reciting coordinates and a mayday call. They said he sounded like a captain lost at sea, his words carried by the wind. At the station, the cabinet continued to fill. Every few years, a new envelope, a new rescue swimmer who heard the voice. Commander Hale retired, his final act a silent passing of the key to the new CO. The ritual remained. The new commander sealed his own envelope, clicked the drawer shut, and waited for the next call. The station endured, its tower light blinking across the empty sea, a sentinel for the dead. And George Tanner, in his silent house, still heard the echo. 6 souls aboard. God help us. 20 years after leaving the service, an old man with salt-chapped skin arrived at the station gate.
I never thought I'd stand here again, but I had to see it one last time.
As he stood there, a helicopter lifted off the pad, its rotor wash tearing the air. The searchlight flicked on as it turned toward the sea. Another call, another empty grid.
They're still going. Still answering a man who's been dead for decades.
He didn't go inside. He already knew what lay in the cabinet. He turned and walked back the way he came, the sound of the helicopter fading into the mist. He never looked back. The station became part of the gray horizon, a lonely outpost on a lonely outpost on a lonely coast. Inside, the cabinet drawer remained locked, its collection of envelopes sealed in silence. No one there knew the old man's name, but his envelope was among them, his voice waiting for the next storm. Inside the silent station, the file cabinet drawer groaned open. Rows of envelopes dated across decades, the last one just yesterday. Decades of calls, each sealed in silence. A new rescue swimmer, barely out of training, zipped up his orange dry suit. His face was eager, unaware of the weight he was about to carry. He checked his gear, his mind on protocol, not on ghosts. None of them ever thought about ghosts. That night, the storm wailed, and at 3:17 the radio static parted for a voice that had no right to speak. 6 souls aboard. God help us. The words faded, but the silence that followed was heavier than the gale outside. Without hesitation, the helicopter lifted off, its searchlight cutting through the rain, hunting the impossible. The cycle rolled on, indifferent to the men it consumed. In the dark, the station's tower light blinked, enduring, watching, remembering. The voice would come again. It always did, and in the official records, the truth remains sealed, but not denied. Since 1973, Station 17 has logged 22 identical distress calls from the vessel Pacific Lady. All searches yielded no findings. The station maintains sealed records. Current personnel declined to comment. The Pacific Lady went down in 1971, but its captain's voice still echoes across Channel 16. The file cabinet in the operations room remains locked. The envelopes inside are never opened. Every few years, a new swimmer hears the call, suits up, and searches an empty ocean. They launch the helicopter. They find nothing. And then they add another envelope to the drawer. The cycle is an unspoken part of the station's duty, a ritual for the dead. The tower light blinks. The sea remains silent, and somewhere, a voice is already preparing to call again. In his final days, George recorded a message alone in his house, by the sea. His voice was thin, worn by years of sleepless nights.
I never opened the envelope. I was too afraid of which voice it held. If you find this, I'm sorry. I tried to escape it, but the cycle doesn't break. The captain's voice is part of me now. I can't sleep without hearing it.
He began to speak the words he had memorized, the same words he heard every night.
We are foundering. 6 souls aboard. God.
The recording cut to static. Days later, a neighbor found the front door ajar and the rooms empty. The envelope remained in the drawer, his name still typed on the front. His chair faced the window, open to the gray sea, as if he had walked out into the storm. And from the shoreline, carried on the wind, the faint echo of a Mayday call. Decades later, a young Coast Guard historian opened a dusty archive room. The air smelled of old paper and salt. He found a digital file labeled Pacific Lady, restricted. The metadata dated back 40 years. He pressed play. First came the captain's voice. We are foundering. 6 souls aboard. God help us. Then, a second voice. Tired, broken. George Tanner's apology before his own voice cut off. He heard the static that followed. Then silence. The recording ended on an unfinished prayer. He shivered and opened the station's file cabinet records. There were 23 envelopes, including Tanner's. He created a new digital archive, labeled it Restricted Station 17. anomalous transmissions. He dragged the audio file into the folder, adding it to a growing collection of identical calls. He locked the digital file with the same quiet ritual as the station had sealed envelopes. The secret was now digital, but no less sealed. The cycle of documentation continued. Far from the station, a lone fishing trawler fought the rising swell. The barometer fell. A squall rolled in, whipping the sea into foam. The fisherman pulled his hood tight. He flicked on the VHF. Channel 16 erupted with static and a faint, distant voice. Through the hiss, a pleading tone. Words he could not grasp, but felt in his bones. He killed the radio and stared into the storm, his knuckles white on the wheel. On the horizon, a dim mast light blinked once through the rain where there should be only dark. The outline of an old fishing vessel, rusted and leaning, took shape against the squall. He recognized the silhouette, the Pacific Lady, lost with all hands before he was born. The ship held for a breath, then dissolved into the night without a sound. The sea was empty, the radio silent. Only the legend remained, waiting for the next call. The file cabinet drawer slid shut with a heavy click, sealing another date into the darkness. The operations room was empty, lit only by the dim glow of silent instruments and a blinking status light outside the rain-streaked window. The station's tower light blinked a slow, steady pulse against the storm. The view drifted out over the churning sea, the station shrinking to a pinprick of light against the clouds. Miles offshore, at the exact coordinates where the Pacific Lady had last called for help, a light flickered. A single mast lamp appeared on the stormy horizon, impossibly steady in the raging gale. The ghostly outline of the rusted fishing vessel solidified for a moment, then began to dissolve into mist. It faded without a sound, leaving only the black water and the wind. They still answer the call. Fade to black.